was I doing? I'm not talking about his physical heart, although I know he had a very long history of having problems with that. I'm talking about his emotional heart, his spiritual heart. It was oversized. It was oversized with his love for his country, his love for his family, his love for his friends and his community, his love for his faith, and his love for Jesus Christ. And most people who had the honor to have a relationship with him experience the effects of this enlarged heart. The first part of my relationship with Bruce was a personal and recreational one. He and several of the other Niles brothers were mainstays in the Little League baseball system in North Bennington and Shasbury. For years, if Bruce wasn't coaching, he was umpiring or organizing a work party at one of the fields. I was an assistant coach to him when our son Justin, played in the senior league. He had an enlarged heart then, even way back then. The kids loved him and respected him and learned a lot about baseball under his guidance. Like the psalmist explained in the first reading that Pete read, Bruce guided many a young person on the right path. And goodness and kindness indeed followed him everywhere he went. I also know Bruce professionally. He was our postmaster for years. The North Bennington Post Office was always a welcoming place to go. Bruce's enlarged heart made sure that people loved and respected him in that role too. And it seemed to me, as one of his customers, that he took a lot of pride and care in his work. But most of my relationship with Bruce Niles has centered in this very building that we're in this morning, and the loving faith family that occupies it. I did music ministry here for 25 years with the likes of Dick Borden and Bert Snow and others. Prior to my study and ordination as a deacon, Bruce loved our gospel. Most characteristic, but more characteristic, Bruce loved this church. He loved his faith, community, and he loved his faith. Both he and Nancy have been very active in various parish ministries over the years. Among others, Bruce served as on our parish council for several years and was also active in our youth ministry later in his life. With such an enlarged heart, combined with his love of youth and his faith, it was not enough to simply belong to this parish. He had to be involved in its vibrancy and direction. Sadly, his failing health began to limit how active he could be here. His absence has been missed. Nancy, his children, his grandchildren, his family, on behalf of Father Kelly and Father Bob and me and the entire family of St. John's, we extend our deepest sympathy to you. We're very sorry for your loss. We're very sorry for our loss. I know you are comforted by your great faith. On Thursday, Nancy shared with me that just before Bruce died, on Tuesday afternoon, you were surrounding him in prayer and love and citing the Lord's Prayer. And just before they started the Hail Mary, just as they were starting the Hail Mary, which Nancy said was Bruce's favorite prayer, he took his last breath and he died. What an amazing way to see somebody from this world into the next. It's so easy for me to see Christ welcoming him in open arms as you let go of him. Perhaps welcoming him with these words, Happy New Year, my beloved son. In the second reading, Paul asks us not to be discouraged. Quote, "We know," he writes, "that one who raised the Lord Jesus will raise us also with Christ and place us with him in his presence. Everything indeed is for you, so that the grace bestowed in abundance on more and more people may cause the thanksgiving to overflow for the glory of God." In life, Bruce caused the thanksgiving to overflow for the glory of God, even in suffering. And he suffered greatly through the years, didn't he? And yet he did not allow it to define him. And for so many years, though, he was so challenged with the suffering. I remember maybe 5 or 7 years ago, Gail and I visited him at Dartmouth in the hospital. He was in grave health then. People didn't think he was going to live. I remember that he had more tubes coming down to him than I thought he had places to put them in. But the Lord wasn't ready to take him then. He wasn't finished. His outer self was wasting away, as St. Paul said, predicts for all of us, but not his inner self. This enlarged heart of his was not done yet. I got a call from his brother Pete Sunday night telling me that the doctors were saying that Bruce's fight for life was soon to be over. He asked if I could come and see him the next day. I was honored to be asked. Pete shared that Father Bill had blessed him with the sacrament of sick just a couple of weeks earlier. When I got there that Monday morning, his room was teeming with his family coming and going. And nurses and doctors coming and going. I wanted to choose my few minutes with him and saw the opportunity when Nancy and others had to step out and talk to the doctor. When I went in, Bruce first was startled with pain. He was having back pain at the time. But then his eyes opened and he recognized me right away. And he laboriously raised his arms, inviting me down to his bed for a hug. Though failing, that enlarged heart was still beating with him. He told me he loved me, and I responded in kind. It was a grace-filled moment for me, a sacred moment. I brought him the Eucharist, and he was able to take a small piece of it. And after I prayed over him for a moment, we agreed that we'll see each other again. And we will. Don't let your hearts be troubled. We heard Jesus telling us to his disciples in today's gospel, "You have faith in God, have faith also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If there were not, I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you also will be." This is Christ's promise to his disciples. This was Christ's promise to Bruce. This is Christ's promise to us. Do not let your hearts be troubled. I am going to prepare a place for you. I'll come back and take you to myself. And there's no doubt in my mind that Bruce has earned one of those upper rooms, probably right next to a ball field or something like that. And this should console us. Though your hearts are heavy and you are reeling from his death, we need to be consoled by these words and strengthened by this promise. I'm going to prepare a place for you, and I will come back and take you to myself. So as we continue this sacred celebration this morning, with his friends and family surrounding him,